Everett Show on Ticket 760.
Just after 5 o'clock, it's hour number 2 of the program. Thank you for being a part of our discussion today. As we get into the second hour, we got a lot of things to get to coming up. Stephen A. Smith and his retort to what happened with LeBron a few days back. We'll get into some golf news and a whole lot of other things, more baseball stuff as well. As you know, we live in a different world these days when it comes to college athletics. Players are now getting paid, as they probably should have years and years ago. And we're in the NIL transfer portal and revenue share world, and we're going to try to sort all of that out today. To help us out with that, we have in studio Robert Stockhausen from Playfly and Jordan Pelt from Playfly Max, part of the same team. And I'll welcome you guys first, and then we'll figure out how we're going to go from here.
Thanks, Andy. Great to be on.
Thanks for
Andy.
being here.
Thanks for having us.
First guy was Robert. Last guy was Jordan. And to kind of give you this in a nutshell, every university has what I refer to as a rights holder. I think you guys refer to them as a partner of some kind. Universities are not set up to sell things. And things like people and companies like Playfly are, so that they can generate the revenue through either media rights or activation at games, signage at games, and all that kind of stuff. And Robert, Playfly's now been with UTSA, finishing up its second year.
Correct. Yeah, we started April 17th of 2023. I remember the date. I was there from the very beginning, and to be frank, we started from nothing and got the thing going. We had a predecessor, but literally every contract, every relationship had to be started over from scratch.
Yeah, and new people, and some of the same sponsors and partners have been around forever, but now they had new people that they were working with, and things are always going to be a little bit different.
Absolutely. It was great, but it was a great experience. I had worked previously at 4 other institutions and for the Spurs for 9 years, so that I leaned on that. I mean, really just kind of understanding the city of San Antonio, having been here since 2012, and the business community, and really spent the time going out, seeing the folks that we could identify and find that were partners already, doing our best to, re-engage and say, hey, this is still a great place to be, and there's a whole new talented group. And then the charge to us was a couple-fold. One, obviously, the better we do and the more sponsors we keep and bring on and engage, the more revenue we're generating for the school and for the athletic department. And that's really the name of the game. Plus, we want them to benefit from that exposure and the fun activations and the cool promotions and all the entertaining things we do at the games, so that the fan goes away with a better experience, a great image of the brand and the company. And then, obviously, they want to do business with the people who are supporting their school. Yeah,
we're going to touch on that in a second here, because I want to bring Jordan in a second. But also, now we're expanding that because schools are going to start revenue sharing in the summer. The American Conference has said we want all of our member schools to have a minimum of $10 million over the next 3 seasons, 3 academic and athletic seasons. So there's a challenge there. And the partnerships that you have with existing and future partners of UTSA can assist in directly helping athletes.
100%. So the area of businesses, the interesting thing that's come about is now with not only funding athletics, you also have the opportunity to put some money in the pockets of the young people who are playing for the institution. So a lot of folks want to know, well, how do we get involved? What could we do? I mean, you certainly could just make a donation, and that's great. But a lot of businesses are like, hey, what if this could bring business back to me? The opinion, the face, the name of a player who's successful in his or her sport can mean a lot. We've already seen a lot with, you mentioned Juju Watkins, I think, in the last hour.
Yes.
But there's some other famous athletes, both on the men's and women's side, and we have some here on our very own campus who would be great brand ambassadors for businesses, who then can obviously result in greater sales and exposure for that company.
All right, Jordan Pelt is the guy that is now part of Playfly Max, and you're the one that's going to help Robert find those people that want to help directly contribute to athletes. Give us your background and your excitement level coming into this opportunity to help out UTSA.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Just truly exciting to be a part of this team and have great people supporting me. And, Rob said it so perfectly, like this might be the most exciting time in college athletics right now. And to have people represent the university and the community and actually give back to those people as well as local businesses I'm excited to get going and just, really excited to see what comes up.
Where'd you come from? What's your background?
Yeah, mainly sales, marketing background. The last 17 years, primarily working with like local businesses here in San Antonio, as well as some other roles like here at a national level. But growing up, I played sports, football, baseball. We were a sports family, so I talk, walk, and eat sports all day long. And so just excited to now be a part of a program and a wonderful staff that, is really, same-minded.
A couple of falls ago, I think it was the fall of 23, I was part of a media forum for the San Antonio Quarterback Club. And the topic of the day was NIL and its future. And I cautioned everybody, this is not going away. This is the new frontier that we're in. The cat's out of the bag. And it was one thing in 1990 when the rights fee to a network was $1 million. And you had to divide it up amongst 13 or 14 conference schools. And nobody was getting a lot of money. We were just getting exposure. But when a conference like the Big Ten comes out and says, we're going to give you $8 billion and we're going to divide it among 20, eventually probably 18 to 20 conference schools, and the people that are providing that entertainment are the athletes, that's, I think, was the tipping point to say it's time for these people to get involved in the revenue part of it. And yes, they're students, and yes, most of them are not going pro, at least on the football side and on a lot of the non-revenue sports. But this is something that every institution has to deal with, whether they like it or not.
That's right. And it adds to the quality of competition, the quality of life for these young people. I mean, you heard horrible stories of athletes whose jersey numbers were being put on actual apparel and sold, and they weren't getting a nickel out of it, but they couldn't afford to go out for a pizza one night after work. A kid can make it to the Final Four and generate scads of dollars for their institution and the networks and everyone around them, but for themselves. And so that was the tipping point. That was where the dam broke, and now at least those young people can get a taste of it and what their value is.
I'll get OU in trouble for 40 years ago because I think the statute of limitations is off here. But I was having a conversation with an assistant coach. It was not Barry Switzer. It was an assistant coach who will go nameless. And he was telling me a story, and this was in 1986. And first game of the year was against UCLA. Troy Aikman had left, but he wasn't playing for UCLA yet. And OU had a first-team running back, I think it was Lydell Carr, got hurt on the second play of the game. About 3 series later, the second guy got hurt. And all of a sudden, they're down to their third or fourth running back, and it was a freshman player from Orlando. His name was Leon Perry. And Leon became the star of the game that day. He looked like he played fullback for OU in the wishbone for 100 years. Scored a couple of touchdowns, had a nice rushing day, was the definite star of the game offensively for the team. And this coach went to the athletic dorms, and they were empty, except for one person sitting on the communal couch in the lobby watching on a 24-inch black and white TV some show or something. And it was like, Leon, why are you here? And he said, I don't have any money, coach. He goes, what do you mean you don't have any money? Because I brought everything I own in my entire life in a gym bag. When I came, the team issued sweats and T-shirts and shorts were his wardrobe. He literally came from nothing and had no money. Everybody in the town is celebrating what he did, and yet he couldn't partake in the celebration even to go get a hamburger.
Yeah, it's remarkable, and it's a different time, and it's like you said, it's overdue. When you saw video games with player images and merchandise and all the now there's opportunity that's opened up where these young people can take advantage and get some of that. And again, you're 100% right. A lot of them will not go pro. A preponderance of them won't go pro, but they should still be compensated because what they do is worth more than a scholarship.
Allegedly, I was told that player found $20 under the couch. Just happened to get either like an Easter egg hunt or something like that. All right. We have revenue sharing that's coming to the school, and UTSA and its athletic department will mainly be in charge of that. Let's talk about the collectives and the NIL. How do they work? And in this new way with what Playfly and Playfly Max is going to do, how do we get money to the athletes? And how do the collectives, do they fall under your umbrella or are they separate?
They're separate. So collectives will continue to work independently, and their work is going to continue to take the form that it has. It might be donations. There might be events that go on that raise money for the collective, total that then gets passed along to the athletes. The athletic department and Playfly Max, their role is to work with the corporate community, but also there are going to be some other things down the road that will be announced later that will be really creative ways for the whole community to get involved with UTSA that may have nothing to do with going to a sporting event or buying a T-shirt or anything else. It could just be events. It could be other things that go on that will generate revenue that will ultimately go to that NIL fund. Everything we do just goes to basically a big pot that then is decided by the athletic department how that is disseminated, whether it's to pay coaches or for facilities or scholarships or for NIL. But the point is, we kind of take an all of the above approach with everybody. And if you want to get involved, there's a way. Just get in touch and we'll figure out what the right fit is.
Jordan, talk about your role in helping Robert find these people and the relationships that you built over the years. And obviously, you're a sports fan and played sports, so you can talk the language to anyone and bring people in to just kind of have that relationship with UTSA.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And what Rob was talking about is totally correct. It's a collaboration. Where I kind of come into this is to work with Rob and his team, and also a very talented UTSA property and athletic department. And my job is going to be to drive as much meaningful relationships as I can, look for as many creative and strategic partnerships as possible, and then really kind of see what lane I can coexist with a lot of these other buckets. And Rob had mentioned there's just so many creative ways to do that. There'll be events, maybe some special packaging, or even just contributing to the team in general. So, what I've been kind of talked to and coached on is that this is a team effort, and we want to compete. And we want to make sure that we're looking at as many opportunities as we can.
And I think, Robert, we talk about football, and football is certainly the revenue driver, and it's the most visible part of the athletic department. But Karen's basketball team just had a fantastic season. Austin improved by a couple of games this year from previous records, and I know that he's finding the next players to follow in the same path that Karen has in the 3 or 4 years that she's gotten that team to where they are. And then you've got baseball that's had big wins over Texas and Texas A&M. So while this is primarily football to some extent, this is the entire athletic department.
Yeah, and that's exciting too. For a lot of businesses, the fall might be the time they want to be in front of people, but some of them want to be involved over the winter, or some of them want to be involved in the spring, or maybe the demographics of, say, the volleyball audience makes more sense for some, or women's basketball, or you name it. What we try to do is just sit down and figure out with them, have a conversation about, well, who is it you're trying to reach? What's the right mix of people? What's the time of year? What's the media mix as far as it goes? And then with the players and with the NIL piece, what's really kind of fun is we can talk about, hey, you know what? You want to show the inside of your restaurant or your store. We could put the volleyball team in there, and they could be having a meal and hanging out and having a good time. Or we could do a fashion show with the softball team, and it could take a lot of different forms. And it's not necessarily about, this program or that. It's maybe the personalities, or maybe it's the look or the appearance or the compatible fit as far as the demographic to how best to serve the business. The great thing is this is all new territory. This is all virgin timber. So the fun part is we can get as creative as we want to with it and benefit all parties.
All right, we're talking with Robert Stockhausen and Jordan Pelt from Playfly and Playfly Max, the rights holders and media partners for UTSA. We got more to get to with them, including how the coaches are involved, and obviously, again, as how you can get involved as well. We'll continue that conversation next. It's the Andy Everett Show on the Ticket. We're talking NIL, transfer portal, collectives, all that kind of stuff in regards to UTSA. Robert Stockhausen with Playfly Sports and Jordan Pelt, Playfly Max, part of the team at UTSA that's working on helping generate funds so that the athletes will benefit from that. We're going to have them for this segment and probably one more as well. Jeff Traylor is I don't think it's a secret. He's the face of what we're doing at UTSA. And it's been amazing what he's been able to accomplish with the approach that he's taken to creating the excitement around this team, starting under the most adverse conditions 5 years ago when we were in the midst of COVID. And he is he's never not available when it comes to somebody that wants to support UTSA. And to have that from a coach, I think I don't know if Nick Saban's the same way when he was there, but I kind of doubt it. I think he figures you can go sell it without me. But Jeff Traylor is accessible and available, and someone that I think every sponsor, booster, alum would want to know and call a friend.
Yeah. Well, Jeff's been terrific. Like I say, I've been working with him for a couple of years. I've had the benefit of some perspective of having worked at other schools, and he just wants the whole thing to work. You could just tell he gets up every day to say, how do we grind and make this thing bigger and better every day? And I think a lot of the people in the race, heck, all the people in the race have the same mindset. Like, we're not here to, be a mid-major forever, and we're not here to kind of muddle along and just sustain ourselves. We're here to grow this thing like the school has grown. And I think Jeff's riding that wave with us and saying, okay, hey, somebody needs me to voice a radio spot, or somebody needs me to make an appearance somewhere, or hey, you need some things autographed so that you can take them as thank you gifts to partners or to donors. I'll do it. And again, having worked at other schools, that's uncommon, but he knows it's for the better good.
I think there's a lot of people that have just assumed, since the success of UTSA early in his career, that he was here as a stepping stone to go to the next place. Yeah. And I do believe had Texas not hired Steve Sarkisian and had failed many times after that, or if Texas A&M would have been a situation, I think those huge opportunities, especially for someone that's coached in high school in Texas, I would never have blamed him for leaving. But if you look at the opportunities that he's had, I don't think I don't think the future of UTSA football and Houston football are dissimilar, or UTSA and some of the schools now in the Big 12 that have joined since the defection of Texas and OU to the SEC. So I agree with you. He talks to me all the time. What can we do next? What you got any ideas? And so I think he and the family love it here. And the most important thing for the place where he comes from as a high school football coach is he wants to develop players and relationships with them. And I think the one thing, if you look back at coaches, they always talk about the players that they had relationships with because they usually spent 3 to 5 years with those players. And a lot of coaches now are getting one. So they don't really know the guy. He's just here at said school for a few minutes. But if Jeff's going to develop players and keep them here and make them UTSA alums over a 4 to 5 year career, the revenue is going to have to be there to keep them here. And it's not $5 million or maybe even $500,000. It may be 50 or it may be 5. But whatever it is, it needs to be there so that those things can grow. And I think that's the goal. Is that, and I'm not trying to put things in his mouth, but just kind of assuming that's where we're at with him.
Yeah, I think the big thing to look at is who is your peer group. If you want to compare yourself to Texas and Oregon, good luck, because not many can. Or
about
Ohio
20
State.
Teams can.
Yeah, and Ohio State is also running a massive deficit, but they have a massive budget, right? And I know somehow they're going to overcome that. But in our case, if we look at ourselves along the lines of Houston, maybe TCU, and again, that's a private school, Tulane, some of these others, UCF, Memphis in our own league, USF, they're all great programs, and we can all fight it out. But we have a bit of a cheat code in that we have San Antonio, the 7th largest city in the United States. And if we have the support of the community, not only buying tickets and wearing the merch, but the corporate community getting involved like we're talking about and us providing value back to them, we're going to do really well. We may not have a FedEx in this town, which I hear a lot, which Memphis has, and they give a ton to the University of Memphis athletics. But we have a lot of folks that can contribute and a lot of folks that can garner benefit from being involved with UTSA. And again, I go back to the school. The school went from 16,000 to 40,000 students in 30 years. Why can't athletics and our programs ride that same wave, and why can't we show that kind of trajectory too? We can.
Jordan, is San Antonio your hometown?
Yes, sir, it is.
So you've seen that growth too. And I've been here since 1988. And UTSA, the biggest building was the Convo and the library back then. And now you've got dorms and all kinds of stuff all over the place. So I remember you drove past I-10 in Huebner and you were in a ghost town. And now you can go from here to Bernie and not know you left one and entered the other.
That's totally true. And driving 1604 is a journey in itself. But just to go back to Coach Traylor, in the first couple of days I was on campus with this new role, I actually met him in the parking lot. He stopped what he was doing, shook my hand, introduced himself to me. And another kind of cool thing about him and him recently getting inducted into the Texas High School Coach Hall of Fame, but he has an actual belief to showcase his athlete. And I met our quarterback at the baseball game on Tuesday, and I found out that he coached his dad, which is why he's here.
Oh, yeah.
And so when you talk about relationships and the type of person he is and, you know, wanting to showcase these athletes, he's a great guy and he preaches relationships. And it was just kind of great to get a chance to get to know him and just more about his personality also.
You know, one of the things, and I have been, even before I was in the business of broadcasting, when I was a kid, I listened to how broadcasters became broadcasters. And my biggest heroes were just as much the announcers in the 70s and 80s as they were the athletes when I was in the formative years of wanting to do this. And one of the things that I always hear them say when they would, especially hometown announcers, would say, I want to make the games fun and exciting so that people want to go to the games. And that's kind of what you guys do at football and basketball games or other events, is you want to create a family atmosphere that people want to go to. And I was telling Robert and Jordan a story. When I was 5, 6 years old, my dad said, "Do you want to go to a basketball game?" And I had no idea where we were going. But I lived in basically central Oklahoma City, and about 5 miles from our house was a school called Bethany Nazarene. It's now Southern Nazarene now. And as a 5-year-old, he probably took me to 3 or 4 games. And after the first couple, it wasn't him asking me if I wanted to go with him. It was me asking, when can we go to the next game? Because I was just learning how to read the sports page and figure out when the schedules were and all that. So when you go to a UTSA event for the first time and you have fun, that's the atmosphere that you guys are trying to create so that the next wave of young people are not only asking mom and dad to keep taking them, eventually they're going to become older, they're going to have jobs, they're going to have businesses, and they may want to be contributors.
Yeah, and they're going to have kids who are going to want to go to the game too.
Exactly.
It's a generational thing. I mean, I didn't fall out of a tree into this business. I grew up going to Brewers games as a kid in Milwaukee, going to Marquette games, Wisconsin games, going to Packer games. And my memories are with my dad and all the conversations we had sitting in the seats. So, you know, when you look at that, we have a charge to not only, generate a lot of money for athletics and help these young people have a career and get a degree and those great things, but we also have a job to the people in the seats to go enjoy themselves and create memories and then go out and want to keep coming back. The cool thing with sponsorship, things that get lost, is it's not advertising. It's the best advertising, but the cool thing about it is that you can really enhance the experience for the end user, for the fan, and we do a ton of it. If you notice, we gave away $888 thanks to Wainwright's giveaway because we had a touchdown and a 2-point conversion in football season, or an 88-point score in men's and women's basketball. We've given away cash to students who kicked field goals at halftime.
A diamond ring.
We gave away a diamond ring and hosted an engagement on a basketball court. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say that I myself got engaged at a minor league baseball game to my lovely wife, Kristen.
That's awesome.
On top of a dugout as part of a silly promotion. So
and she said yes.
She said yes.
That worked out great.
26 years. Yeah, it worked great at a sellout in Beloit, Wisconsin, of all places. But those things are close and near and dear to my heart. And I will add this. Our athletic director and I had a great conversation when I first looked at this opportunity. I wasn't in the business anymore. I was actually working in financial services. And Playfly had contacted me about this opportunity. And I sat down with her for an hour. And I said, I know you didn't make this change. You made a change from this prior contractor that you had doing sponsorship and broadcast to Playfly. It might have been money, but what else qualitatively was there? And she said 2 things. One, we'd like to see new partners. We want to see new companies come in, more of that. 2, we want our fans to see a different show every time they come. And she sang my song. I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, I played a hockey goalie on the field at minor league baseball where I tried to keep fans from shooting pucks past me, and I was the goon. And she loved that story. And I said, well, you know, you do everything you can to get people to come to a minor league game and enjoy themselves, and they forget about the score. In our case, you're not only going to be entertained and win cool prizes and walk away with free Whataburger and a chance to win a car from K-League Auto or Ancira, you're going to have a great time, and you're going to likely see a win at football and baseball and all these other sports.
You still haven't topped the ABA from the 70s when they wrestled a bear. We still got to get that involved some way. Somebody wrestling a bear at the 50-yard line at a football game.
Well, give me a couple of years. I've only been here 2 seasons, but yeah, I'm a fan of the Flint Tropics. You betcha.
All right, we got one more segment with them. We'll tell you how you can be a partner and get in touch with them, and we'll do that next. It's 5:32 on the ticket. All right, it's 5:37. It's the Andy Everett Show on the ticket. We're talking NIL, and we're talking how you can be a part of UTSA's future. Robert Stockhausen and Jordan Pelt here from Playfly and Playfly Max. Playfly's been around for about 6 years, and you guys have grown from inheriting the old CBS properties and some of the minor properties around the country to expanding to some major schools. Texas A&M was announced a few days ago. We talked about that. And so it's a major growing company that people can be a part of.
Correct. Yeah, it's been an awesome thing to watch. And the interesting thing about it beyond the collegiate side is now we have, of course, NIL Max, but we help out with ticket sales. We're involved in a lot of the major leagues, so whether it be Major League Baseball, MLS, NHL, NBA, selling into their venues as far as TV visible signage and broadcasts and so forth. So we work with a lot of global and national brands. It's a big company headquartered out of Philly, but we have this local team here in San Antonio and then in all these other schools, 24 universities and another dozen or so high school properties, high school athletic associations.
Here's the one thing I think that needs to be talked about. And Jeff Traylor talks about this all the time. You may not have $5 million or $500 million or a FedEx deal like Memphis had where they get $25 million for 5 years and half of that goes here and half of it goes there. But you may have 5,000 or 50,000 or it doesn't matter what your number is.
Right.
There's a way that you can support UTSA and its NIL collectives and its revenue sharing and all of that. And so and that's one thing I've noticed is that it doesn't matter who you are, we'll find a way for it to work for you.
Yeah, we find you a home, and that's the critical thing. We get asked a lot, is it just for the Whataburgers and the HEBs and, the UT Healths of the world? And no, there's a home for everyone. There are businesses that we work with in all different industries. And the thing that really we try to identify is who's the right fit as far as the audience. If you're sitting here going, okay, well, I like reaching out to the moms with kids, or I have to get the families or the homeowners or the people who are in the market for a car, or the people who may need to maintain those things, or I need a business-to-business type relationship. We can do it. We'll figure it out, and we find a way every time. And what's great about it is it's effective. The folks go, hey, you know what? This is an attractive audience. It's a big audience. And there are more and more people supporting the Roadrunners all the time. And we just tap into them and make those relationships for you.
Jordan, what's your immediate goals? I know you're supporting Robert and all the things that they're doing, but what do you want the message to be from your standpoint with Playfly Max?
I have the right team. I have the right staff. We are going to compete, so I'm going to lean on them and have the best coaching. And, one thing that Robert touched on, I want to kind of emphasize too, the time to get in is now. And you mentioned something about what's happening with our sports teams. We not only beat Texas on the road in baseball, but my kids did get to see the women's basketball team and play in the confetti. So it's not going to happen. It already is.
Right.
And he mentioned something also too, like my short-term goals is just to provide value to this wonderful staff and the local businesses here in town. It doesn't have to be national brands right away. We want to encourage both, but this is win-win for our community, our school, our athletes, and also the businesses here in San Antonio.
And I think the overall message too is it is about the student athletes. Not all of them are going to go pro, but we're playing kind of a semi-pro game right now anyway. When TV networks are giving away money like it's candy to the conferences, and even the American Conference numbers are much higher than they would have been 10 or 20 years ago. We're seeing those things being done, and the people that are providing that entertainment and that excitement for us are 18 to 24-year-old student athletes. And 90% of them are there to get a degree because they're not going pro. The other 10 or 15% are hoping they get a pro opportunity someplace. But everybody wants to win, and winning now equals money. The players have to be compensated, because if Austin and Karen and Jeff and and Van and all the coaches out at UTSA are going to win, they're going to have to compete with member conference schools for the right players.
That's right. One thing I'll close the loop on. One thing you said, the American and all these other conferences are paying out more money. You know why? Because there's more eyeballs. There's more interest, and there's a lot more engagement. If anything, college sports is undervalued from a sponsorship standpoint. NFL gets a lot of money for what they do, and that's great. But the allegiance to a college is a lot greater than pro in a lot of cases, and I think we can help drive that value home to those businesses when they get involved.
How do people reach you?
Easiest thing, go to the staff directory on goutsa.com. I have the longest name on there probably, Robert Stockhausen, or Jordan Pelt, either one, and we're both in the directory under Playfly. You could even go in the search bar and just put Playfly and you'll find us. But just shoot me an email, give me a call. Would love to talk to you. I don't have a cool 888 number with like a great, with something memorable. So I just tell you, just go to the website and find us there, and we'll take great care of you.
Yeah, goutsa.com, and they're listed there. So
Staff directory.
Thanks for coming in, guys. I appreciate the opportunity. I think we educated some people today, and hopefully more and more people want to be a part of what UTSA is doing. It's been amazing, and this was... Next year will be 15 years of football and my 19th year of basketball. So I can't wait for the seasons to start. I'm saddened to a certain extent we don't have a spring game this year, but I understand why. I want the players to stay. I don't want somebody else stealing them.
Andy.
Exactly.
That's okay.
But anyway, we'll look forward to all of that and continued success for all the spring sports as they wrap up their seasons.
Thanks, Andy. It's been a delight. We'll come back anytime.
All right. That's Robert and Jordan from Playfly and Playfly Max. And again, go to goutsa.com to contact them. We will come back with one more segment of this hour and the 6 o'clock hour coming up. It's the Andy Everett Show on the Ticket.